That morning I woke up with this warmth in my chest that only comes once a year. 5 years. Half a decade of building a life together with Sarah, my wife, my best friend. I had everything planned perfectly for our anniversary. The flowers, the restaurant, the gift I had been saving for. She texted around noon saying she had an important meeting at work and might be home a little late. I trusted her completely. Why would not I? But by midnight, everything I believed about my marriage, about her, about us would shatter into pieces I could never put back together. Before I share what happened that night, I would love to know where are you watching from. Drop your city in the comments. If you have ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted, completely hit that like button and subscribe, because this story gets intense. All right, let me take you back to that evening when my perfect anniversary turned into the worst night of my life. That afternoon, I left work early, my mind buzzing with excitement. I stopped at the flower shop on Maple Street, the one with the big glass windows that always smelled like spring. I picked out peonies, soft pink ones, because they were Sarah's favorite. She had told me once years ago when we first started dating that peonies reminded her of her grandmother's garden. I remembered every little thing she ever told me. That is what love is, right? Paying attention to the details. Next stop was Bella Nota, this cozy Italian restaurant downtown where we had our first date. The owner, an older guy named Giuseppe, still remembered us. I called ahead and reserved our usual table by the window, the one with the candle that flickered just right, casting shadows that made everything feel like a movie scene. I could already picture Sarah's face lighting up when we walked in. She always said that place made her feel like we were in Rome, even though neither of us had ever been. I swung by the jewelry store after that. There was this silver bracelet I had been eyeing for months, delicate with our initials engraved on the inside. The lady at the counter wrapped it in this fancy box with a silk ribbon. I held it in my hands, imagining the moment I would give it to her. My heart felt full, like everything was exactly where it was supposed to be. By the time I got home around 6 p.m., the sun was starting to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. I cleaned up the living room, lit some candles, and put a bottle of champagne on ice. I even put on that playlist Sarah made, the one with all those old love songs from the 80s that she pretended to hate but secretly adored. I caught myself smiling like an idiot while I set everything up. This was going to be perfect. We were going to have the night of our lives. I thought back to how we met 5 years ago at a coffee shop called The Daily Grind. She was reading a book, something about philosophy that I did not understand, and I spilled my coffee trying to walk past her table. She looked up, and instead of being annoyed, she laughed. Not a polite laugh, but a real one that reached her eyes. We talked for 3 hours that day. I knew right then she was the one, or at least I thought I knew. I texted her around 7 p.m., my fingers flying across the screen. "Cannot wait to see you tonight, love. I have got everything ready." Her response came a few minutes later. "Me too. This meeting is taking forever, but I will be home by 8, promise." I believed her. Of course I believed her. She was my wife. 8 p.m. came and went. I sat on the couch checking my phone every few minutes. The candles were burning low and the champagne was getting warm. I called her. No answer. The phone just rang and rang until it went to voicemail. "Hey, it is Sarah. Leave a message." Her voice sounded so cheerful on that recording. I did not leave a message. I just hung up and stared at the screen. By 8:30, my excitement had turned into this weird knot in my stomach. I sent another text. "Hey, everything okay?" She replied fast this time, which should have made me feel better, but it did not. "Still here. Do not wait up." 3 words that felt wrong somehow. Cold, distant, not like her at all. Or maybe it was exactly like her, and I had just been too blind to see it. I told myself she was probably stressed. Work had been intense lately. She had mentioned something about a big project with tight deadlines. Derek, her coworker, was leading it. She talked about him sometimes, always in a professional way. He is so organized. He really knows how to manage a team. I never thought anything of it. Why would I? I trusted her. But sitting there at 9 p.m. alone with cold food and melted candles, something shifted inside me. It was not anger, yet just this uncomfortable feeling, like when you know something is off, but cannot quite put your finger on it. I reheated the pasta I had made more to keep my hands busy than because I was hungry. The TV was on some sitcom with a laugh track that felt too loud in the silent house. I was not watching it. I was just staring at my phone, waiting. By 10 p.m., I could not take it anymore. I remembered we had this app, Find My, that we shared locations on. We set it up after Sarah got lost hiking once, and I had been worried sick trying to find her. It was supposed to be for emergencies, for keeping each other safe. I opened the app, my hands shaking a little. The little dot that represented Sarah was not at her office. It was not even close. It was 15 miles away, in some residential area I did not recognize. A neighborhood called Riverside Heights, full of fancy apartment buildings with names like the Paramount and the Vista. My brain tried to make sense of it. Maybe the meeting moved locations. Maybe they were at a client's office. But it was 10 p.m. on our anniversary. What kind of meeting happens that late? I zoomed in on the map. The dot was stationary, had been for over an hour, according to the timestamp. She was not driving around. She was somewhere staying put, and she had lied about where. I grabbed my keys before I could talk myself out of it. The drive felt both too long and too short. My mind was racing, coming up with explanations. She is surprising me with something. She is planning a party. There is a reasonable explanation. There has to be. But my hands were sweating on the steering wheel, and my heart would not stop pounding. The address led me to a building called Riverside Towers, all glass and steel with a doorman and everything. Fancy. Way too fancy for a work meeting. I parked next to a white Honda Accord that I recognized immediately, Sarah's car. The license plate read HRT 2891. I had helped her pick out that car 3 years ago. Seeing it there in this strange parking lot made everything feel surreal. I sat in my truck for a minute, maybe two, trying to breathe. Then I saw it. On the third floor, one of the apartments had lights on. Warm, golden light spilling through the windows. I do not know what made me get out of the car. Maybe it was hope that I was wrong. Maybe it was fear that I was right. I walked to the entrance. The doorman was not at his post. Lucky me. I took the elevator up, watching the numbers climb. 3. The doors opened, and I stepped into a carpeted hallway that smelled like vanilla and something else I could not place. Apartment 302. The door was slightly open, just a crack, like someone had closed it, but it had not latched properly. I could hear voices inside. Laughter. Her laughter. The sound I used to love more than anything in the world. I pushed the door open slowly, quietly. And there she was. Sarah was sitting on a leather couch, a glass of red wine in her hand. Next to her was a man I recognized from the pictures she had shown me. Derek. Tall, probably 6'2", with dark hair, styled in that way that looks effortless but probably takes 20 minutes. He was wearing a button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up, looking relaxed, comfortable. His hand was on Sarah's shoulder, his thumb moving in small circles. She was smiling up at him, that same smile she used to give me. I froze. My brain stopped working. I just stood there watching my wife with another man on our anniversary. Derek leaned in closer, whispering something that made her laugh again. Then he kissed her. Not a quick peck, not an accident. A real kiss. And she kissed him back. My hands moved on autopilot. I pulled out my phone, opened the camera, hit record. The phone was shaking, but I kept it steady enough. I recorded them for about 30 seconds. Sarah pulling away from the kiss, smiling. Derek saying something I could not hear. Sarah taking another sip of wine. Them sitting there like they had done this 100 times before. I stopped recording, backed away from the door, walked to the elevator like I was in a trance, down to the parking lot, into my truck. I just sat there staring at the video on my phone, replaying it over and over, each time hoping I had seen it wrong, each time seeing the exact same thing. My wife, another man, our anniversary. I do not know how long I sat there. Could have been minutes, could have been hours. Time did not feel real anymore. Nothing felt real. I sat there for what felt like hours, the video burning a hole in my phone, my marriage crumbling with every second that passed. I finally drove home around midnight. The house was dark when I got there. I did not turn on any lights. I just sat in the living room in the dark with my phone in my hands. The candles had burned out. The champagne was definitely warm now. Everything I had planned, everything I had hoped for, just gone. Sarah came home at 1 a.m. I heard her car pull into the driveway, heard her keys in the door. She walked in humming something under her breath. She did not see me at first. She went to turn on the light. Roy. She jumped when she saw me sitting there in the shadows. Why are you sitting in the dark? You scared me. I did not move. My voice came out flat, emotionless. How was work? She hesitated for just a second. Too long. It was long. I'm exhausted. Really, I stood up slowly. Because I know you were not at the office. Her face changed. The color drained out of it. What are you talking about? I held up my phone. The video paused on the screen. I did not say anything. Just pressed play. The sound of her laughter filled the quiet house. I watched her face as she watched herself kissing Derek. She went completely white. The video ended. Silence hung between us like a weight. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Roy, it is not what you think. Not what I think, my voice cracked. I have a video of him kissing you. Tears started running down her face. It just happened tonight. I swear it is the first time. I was stressed and Derek was there and I do not know what I was thinking and I am so sorry and we can work through this and I will never see him again. And please, Roy, please. I cut her off. On our anniversary, you chose our anniversary to cheat. She just cried harder, which I guess was supposed to make me feel something. But I felt nothing. Empty, hollow, like someone had reached inside and scooped everything out. I walked past her toward the stairs. Sleep in the guest room. I cannot look at you right now. Roy, please. Her voice was desperate, broken. We can fix this. I did not answer. I just went upstairs, locked the bedroom door, and sat on the edge of the bed. I did not sleep. I just stared at the wall until the sun came up. Morning came too fast and too slow at the same time. I looked terrible. My eyes were red and swollen even though I had not cried. I had not done anything, just sat there all night replaying everything in my head. How long had this been going on? Was it really the first time? Did it matter? Sarah was still in the guest room. I could hear her moving around down there. I did not want to see her, did not want to talk to her, but I needed to talk to someone. I thought about calling my brother, but he lived in Seattle and had enough problems of his own. Then I thought about Sarah's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Harrison. They lived about 20 minutes away in this nice house with a big yard and a porch swing. They had always been good to me. Mr. Harrison taught me how to change my truck's oil. Mrs. Harrison made me her famous pot roast every time we visited. They told me I was like the son they never had. I thought they would understand. I thought they would help. I called Mrs. Harrison around 10 a.m. My voice probably sounded rough. Hi, Mrs. Harrison. It is Roy. Can I come by this afternoon? I need to talk to you and Mr. Harrison about something important. She sounded concerned. Of course, dear. Is everything all right? I will explain when I get there. I got to their house around 3 p.m. Mr. Harrison answered the door. He was a big man, probably 6'3", with gray hair and these intense blue eyes. Retired military. He shook my hand like always, firm grip, looking me straight in the eye. But something in his expression made me uneasy. Like maybe Sarah had already called them. Mrs. Harrison was in the living room sitting on their floral couch with her hands folded in her lap. She was smaller, maybe 5'4", with brown hair she kept in a neat bob. She always smelled like lavender. She looked worried, but not in the way I expected. I sat down across from them. My laptop was in my bag. I had transferred the video to it, could not keep watching it on my phone. I did not waste time with small talk. Sarah cheated on me. Last night. On our anniversary. Mrs. Harrison's hand went to her mouth, but her eyes did not look surprised. Mr. Harrison just sat back in his chair, his face unreadable. I opened my laptop, turned it toward them, played the video, forced myself to watch their faces instead of the screen. I had seen it enough times. When it ended, nobody said anything for a long moment. I waited for them to be angry on my behalf, to tell me Sarah was wrong, to say they were sorry. But that is not what happened. Mrs. Harrison spoke first. Her voice careful, measured. Roy, we understand you are upset. Upset I could not believe what I was hearing. She cheated on our anniversary. Mr. Harrison leaned forward, his voice cool and controlled. Marriage is complicated, Roy. Maybe you were not giving her what she needed. I felt like I had been punched. Are you blaming me? Mrs. Harrison held up her hand. We are not blaming anyone. But Sarah has been stressed. She told us you have been distant lately. Distant, I worked extra hours to save for our future. I planned a whole anniversary dinner. I did everything right. Mr. Harrison's face hardened. People make mistakes. Sarah made a mistake. But you are her husband. You should forgive her. I stood up. My legs felt shaky. Forgive her. She lied to me, betrayed me on the most important day, and you are telling me to forgive her. Mrs. Harrison stood too, her voice taking on this sharp edge I had never heard before. Divorce is not the answer, Roy. Think about what people will say. Think about our family's reputation. And there it was. They did not care about me. They did not care about what Sarah had done. They cared about how it looked, about their reputation in their country club and their church and their neighborhood. I was just collateral damage. Anath. Harrison stood towering over me. If you divorce Sarah over this, you are throwing away 5 years. You are being selfish. Sarah needs support right now, not judgment. She is our daughter, and we will always stand by her. Mrs. Harrison nodded. We raised her better than this. Maybe if you were a better husband, she would not have looked elsewhere. Something inside me snapped, not into anger, into clarity. I saw them for who they really were. People who would protect their daughter no matter what she did. People who valued appearance over integrity. People who would throw me under the bus to save face. I came here hoping for support. I closed my laptop, put it back in my bag. Instead, you are defending her betrayal. I see where she learned it from. I walked to the door. Mr. Harrison called after me. Roy, do not make a decision you will regret. I turned back one last time. The only thing I regret is not seeing this sooner. I walked out, and that is when I saw Sarah. She was standing by her car in their driveway. She must have been there the whole time waiting to see what would happen. When she saw me, she started running toward me crying, Please, Roy. I made a mistake. Do not leave me. We can work through this. I love you. I always have. This does not have to end our marriage. Please. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I did not see my wife anymore. I saw a stranger, someone who could lie to my face, someone who could betray me on our anniversary, someone whose parents raised her to think she could get away with anything. You and your parents deserve each other. I got in my truck. She was still crying, yelling my name, but I did not look back. I drove away, and I did not feel sad. I felt free. That was the moment I knew I was not just losing a wife. I was cutting out a cancer that had been growing in my life disguised as family. I did not waste any time. The next morning, I called a lawyer. His name was James Peterson, came highly recommended from a friend who had been through a divorce a few years back. He was in his 40s, gray at the temples, with this calm, steady voice that made you feel like everything was going to be okay. We met at his office downtown, big wooden desk, law books lining the walls that smell of coffee and old paper. I brought my laptop, showed him the video. He watched it once, his face neutral, professional. This is solid evidence. He leaned back in his chair. We can file for fault-based divorce. Adultery is grounds in this state. With video proof, this will be straightforward. I want this done quickly and cleanly. I straightened up in my chair. I do not want anything from her, just my freedom. We will file this week. He started typing on his computer. In the meantime, I recommend you separate your finances. Move money from joint accounts to your personal account. Only what you contributed. Document everything. I left his office with a plan. First, stop the bank. I transferred my half of our savings into my personal account. $32,000. Money I had saved from working overtime, from skipping lunches, from saying no to things I wanted, because I was building a future. Our future. Except there was no our anymore. Next, I called a locksmith, had him come to the house and change all the locks. It was my house. I had bought it before we got married, before Sarah had ever stepped foot inside. She had no legal claim to it. The locksmith, a guy named Tom with a thick beard and kind eyes, did not ask questions, just changed the locks and handed me the new keys. Then I texted Sarah. You have 7 days to get your things out of the house. Come when I'm at work. Take only what is yours. Do not try to contact me." She started calling immediately. I blocked her number. She texted from a different number. Blocked that too. Her mom called. Blocked. Her dad called. Blocked. I was done. Every number they tried, I blocked. Every voicemail they left, I deleted without listening. 2 days later, the divorce papers were filed. Sarah was served at work, which I know because Derek called me from his personal number. How he got my number, I have no idea. He was angry, yelling about how I embarrassed Sarah in front of her colleagues. I hung up. Blocked him too. The house felt different with her gone, quieter, but in a good way. I started to breathe easier. Every step I took away from them felt like breathing fresh air after years underwater. I was not drowning anymore. I was swimming to shore. Sarah tried coming to the house. She knocked on the door for 20 minutes. I watched from the upstairs window. Did not open the door. She finally left crying. She came back the next day with her parents. Mr. Harrison tried to intimidate me by pounding on the door, threatening to call the cops. I called them first. Told them my estranged wife and her family were harassing me. They left before the police arrived. I sent an email to our close friends, kept it simple factual. Sarah and I are divorcing. She was unfaithful. I am moving forward with my life. If anyone wanted details, I had the video. Most of our friends were shocked. Several reached out immediately offering support. A few, the ones who were Sarah's friends, first stopped talking to me. That was fine. I was learning who my real friends were. Sarah tried damage control. She told people it was a mistake, that I was overreacting, that I would not forgive her. But I had the video, and I was not shy about showing it to people who asked, not to be cruel, just to set the record straight. Her story fell apart fast. People started avoiding her. She lost most of her friends within 2 weeks. Then Derek lost his job. I did not do it directly. I sent the video anonymously to the Human Resources Department at their company. The company had a strict policy about workplace relationships, especially affairs. Derek was fired within 3 days. Sarah was not fired, but she became a pariah. She quit 2 weeks later. I heard she could not handle the stares and whispers. The divorce process moved faster than I expected. Sarah tried to fight it at first. Her lawyer argued for a share of the house, a share of my retirement account alimony, but the video was damning. My lawyer tore apart every argument they made. We had a hearing in early October. I sat across from Sarah in that sterile courtroom with the fluorescent lights and the judge's bench that seemed a mile high. I had not seen her up close in almost 2 months. She looked different, thinner, tired. She would not meet my eyes. Her lawyer tried. "Your Honor, my client was under significant emotional distress. The marriage had been struggling for months. This was an isolated incident." The judge, a woman in her 50s with steel gray hair and sharp eyes, did not look impressed. She had read all the evidence, seen the video. Emotional distress does not justify adultery, especially on an anniversary. The judge looked at Sarah over her glasses. "Mrs. Roy, do you dispute that you engaged in an extramarital affair with your co-worker?" Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. "No, Your Honor. The ruling came down heavily in my favor. I kept the house. Sarah got nothing from my retirement account, no alimony. She was responsible for her own legal fees. The marriage was dissolved, 4 months from filing to finalization. My lawyer said that was fast. It felt like a lifetime. Walking out of that courthouse, I felt 10 pounds lighter. The October air was crisp and cool. The leaves were turning gold and red. Everything looked brighter somehow. I was not married anymore. I was not tied to Sarah or her parents or the lie I had been living. I was just Roy, free, single, whole, free. Sarah tried one more time about a month after the divorce was final. She showed up at my workplace. Security escorted her out. She sent letters. I returned them unopened. She created new social media accounts to message me. I blocked them all. She sent friends to talk to me. I told them there was nothing to discuss. Mrs. Harrison sent a handwritten letter on her fancy stationery. "Roy, we are sorry for how things went. Can we meet?" I read it once, tore it up, threw it away, did not respond. Mr. Harrison came to my house. I saw him through the window, did not open the door. He knocked for 10 minutes. Finally, I opened the window upstairs. "I have nothing to say to you. Do not come back." He left. I never heard from them again. I deleted every photo of Sarah from my phone, from my social media, from my cloud storage. I packed up the few things of hers she had left behind, donated them. I did not want any reminders. I moved to a new apartment 6 months later. Smaller, more affordable. But it was mine. No memories, no ghosts. I heard through mutual friends that Sarah tried to get back together with Derek. He was not interested. He had moved on with someone from his gym. Sarah was alone, lost her job, lost her friends, lost her husband. Even her parents were disappointed in her, not because of what she did to me, but because she failed to keep up appearances. I did not feel happy about her misery. I did not feel anything. She made her choices. Now she had to live with them. That was not my problem anymore. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again. Not a husband, not a victim. Just Roy, free, whole, and ready to rebuild. The first month after the divorce was finalized was the hardest. Not because I missed Sarah, I did not, but because I kept waking up expecting to find her there. 5 years of habit do not disappear overnight. I would reach for my phone to text her something funny I saw. Then I would remember. She was not my person anymore. She never really was. I did not sleep much those first few weeks. I would lie in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying everything, not the cheating. That part I had made peace with, but all the little moments before. The times she said she was working late, the times she smiled at her phone and said it was nothing, the times I felt like something was off but talked myself out of it. I tortured myself wondering how long I had been a fool. My friend Marcus noticed I was struggling. He showed up at my apartment one Saturday with coffee and bagels. "Man, you look terrible. When is the last time you left this place?" I shrugged. He sat down. "Look, you did the right thing. No one, and I mean no one, deserves what she did to you, but you cannot let this destroy you. She already took enough. Do not let her take your future too." He was right. I started small, joined a gym. Nothing fancy, just a Planet Fitness down the street. I went every morning before work. The routine helped. The physical exhaustion helped. I was not thinking about Sarah when I was bench pressing or running on the treadmill. I was just focused on the burn in my muscles, the sweat dripping down my face, the feeling of getting stronger. Tyler, another friend from college, started dragging me out on weekends. We would go to sports bars and watch football, play pool, just be normal guys doing normal guy things. It felt weird at first. I'd spent 5 years as part of a couple. Being single again at 32 felt like learning to walk after a leg injury. Awkward, uncomfortable, but necessary. Work became my anchor. I threw myself into my job at the engineering firm, stayed late, took on extra projects. My boss noticed. 3 months after the divorce, he called me into his office. "Roy, you have been doing exceptional work lately. We want to promote you to senior project manager. It comes with a 20% raise and your own team." I accepted immediately. The promotion meant longer hours, more responsibility, but it also meant purpose. I was not just Roy the divorced guy. I was Roy the senior project manager. Roy who was good at his job. Roy who was building something new. I started traveling for work. First trip was to Denver for a conference, then Austin, then Chicago. I'd always wanted to travel more, but Sarah hated flying. Now I could go anywhere. I extended my Chicago trip by a weekend just to explore the city, went to museums, tried deep dish pizza, walked along the lakefront. I was alone, but I was not lonely. There is a difference. 6 months after the divorce, I took my first real vacation in years. Colorado. I'd always wanted to hike the Rockies. I booked a cabin near Estes Park, spent a week hiking different trails. The physical challenge, the thin mountain air, the views that stretched for miles, it all reminded me that the world was bigger than my failed marriage. I stood at the summit of Long's Peak, 14,255 feet above sea level, and I felt alive. Really alive. For the first time in a long time. I picked up my old hobbies, started playing guitar again. I'd not touched my acoustic in 3 years. My fingers were clumsy at first, but muscle memory came back. I played songs I had written in college, songs about heartbreak and hope. They meant something different now. I wrote new songs too. about betrayal and recovery, about learning to trust yourself again, about being okay with being alone. I read more, fiction mostly, got lost in other people's stories so I did not have to think about my own. Science fiction thrillers, classics I had never read. I joined a book club at the local library, a bunch of random people meeting once a month to discuss whatever book we had chosen. It was nice, normal. Nobody knew about my divorce unless I told them. To them, I was just Roy who liked sci-fi and always brought good snacks. I started cooking. Really cooking. Not just reheating frozen dinners or ordering takeout. I watched cooking videos on YouTube, tried recipes, failed at some, succeeded at others, made a lasagna from scratch that actually tasted good, baked bread, learned to make a proper steak. Cooking became meditation, following recipes, measuring ingredients, creating something with my own hands. It was satisfying in a way I had not expected. Slowly, I started to like my life, not just tolerate it, actually like it. I liked coming home to my quiet apartment. I liked deciding what to eat without having to compromise. I liked choosing what to watch on TV. I liked having space to think, to breathe, to be. I was falling in love with my own life again, and it felt better than any relationship ever had. I ran into Sarah once about 8 months after the divorce. I was at the grocery store comparing pasta sauce brands when I heard her voice behind me. Roy. I turned around. She looked different. Her hair was shorter. She was wearing clothes I did not recognize. She looked nervous. "How are you?" "I'm good." My voice was calm, polite but distant. I grabbed a jar of sauce, put it in my basket. She shifted her weight. I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I know it does not change anything, but I needed you to know. I looked at her. Really looked. And I did not feel anger. Did not feel pain. Just nothing. Thanks for saying that. I hope you are doing well. I walked away. Heard her call my name once, but I did not turn back. That chapter was closed. I was writing new ones now. A year after the divorce, I met someone. Nothing serious. Just coffee with a woman named Amanda I met at the book club. She was a teacher, funny and kind, with this infectious laugh that reminded me joy still existed. We went on a few dates. It did not turn into anything long-term, but it reminded me I was capable of connecting with someone again, that I could trust again. Maybe not completely. Not yet. But I was getting there. But the most important relationship I rebuilt was with myself. I learned I did not need someone else to be complete. I learned that being alone was not the same as being lonely. I learned that betrayal does not define you. How you rise from it does. I learned that sometimes the people you love the most will let you down the hardest. And that is okay. You do not have to carry their weight. I learned that cutting toxic people out is not cruelty. It is self-preservation. It is choosing yourself. It is saying, I deserve better than this. Sarah cheated. Her parents defended her. I cut them all off, and I have never been happier. If you are going through something similar, know this. You deserve better. And walking away does not make you weak. It makes you wise. It makes you strong. It makes you someone who values themselves enough to say, enough is enough. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had to cut toxic people out of your life? How did you find the strength to do it? Drop your story in the comments. I read every one. And if this story resonated with you, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories about overcoming betrayal and finding yourself again. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who is going through their own battle and needs to know they are not alone. Thank you for listening to my story. Take care of yourself out there. You are stronger than you think. And remember, your value is not determined by how others treat you. It is determined by how you treat yourself. Stay strong, stay true, and never settle for less than you deserve.